Kimberly, I like your background.
At long last. I like yours as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure if my logo is on the opposite side. I think Roger has sent me something to correct that. I hope I did.
Hi, guys. Richard, can you flip the logo, the background?
Not now.
Can you hear me? Yes, great, wonderful.
Yes, great.
Good to see you all. I am in public, so I have my mask on, just to let you know, but I am speaking under my mask.
Good to see you.
It looks very good without a tie.
Thank you.
What city are you in?
I'm in LA at the moment, but I will be leaving to Seattle.
All right, do we have a quorum so we could move or what?
Yes, Commissioner Kirby's just joined. All right, I would like to call this meeting to order. Today is December 9th, 2021, our final meeting of the year. This is a meeting of the Rent Stabilization Commission for the City of West Hollywood. Commissioner Maggio, would you like to lead us in our final Pledge of Allegiance of the year?
Yes, I'd be happy to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Ayers is absent. Commissioner Kirby's
Present.
Commissioner Maggio.
Present.
Commissioner Montemayor is absent. Commissioner Topshin.
here.
Vice Chair Copeland.
Here.
Chair Marks.
I am present. Thank you. We have a quorum. Has everyone had a chance to review the agenda for this evening?
Yes, I think we have corrections.
You can go ahead.
I believe we will not be hearing Appeal D4485CD2, which is 827 North Sweetser Avenue. Is that correct, Mr. Manager?
That's correct. And also staff is requesting that item 10A be tabled to the next regular meeting on January 13th.
All right, that was going to be my next comment. And with those two changes, then I would make a motion to approve the agenda.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
Wonderful. May we have a roll call, please?
Sorry about that. Commissioner Kirby's.
Aye.
Commissioner Maggio.
Aye.
Commissioner Topshin.
Hi.
Vice Chair Copeland.
Aye.
Chair Marks.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. And we have the meetings from our prior meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review those? I will assume yes, since we had a very long break. Anyone like to make a motion this evening?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion in a second.
Second.
All right, Mr. Secretary, a roll call, please.
Commissioner Kirby's.
Aye.
Commissioner Maggio.
Aye.
Commissioner Topshin.
Aye.
Vice Chair Copeland.
Aye.
Chair Marks.
Aye. The motion passes. Thank you very much. Moving right along to public comment. Do we have any public speakers for this evening? Mr. Secretary, you are on mute if you are talking to us.
I sure am. We have Public Safety Commissioner Robert Oliver with us. I'll ask him to unmute.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Robert Oliver. I serve on West Hollywood Public Safety Commission. However, I am not here in an official capacity. I'm speaking tonight as a proud West Hollywood resident. I did want to introduce myself and also commend the work that you as commissioners do on behalf of residents of our city. Rent control is in the DNA of West Hollywood, and it is vital to helping people stay in their homes, grow in the community, and age in place, and to ensure that tenants' rights are respected. The work done by this commission, as well as our staff, is what makes rent control both a reality and effective in West Hollywood. So I just want to say thank you, and thank you for your time this evening, and I look forward to the rest of the meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, question for the gentleman.
Yes, go ahead.
If he could hear me, has your commission appointed a liaison to our commission as yet?
You know, I'm not sure if we did. We had a few vacancies as of last meeting. I will double check that, and I will get back to you by email.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for that
you.
comment, and thank you for the service to this city. Mr. Secretary, do we have any further public comments this evening?
No other public comment.
Okay, great. It looks like we have the manager's report from Mr. Holland.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening. Good evening, Vice Chair, Commissioners. Jonathan Hollop, Rent Stabilization Division Manager. On the look ahead, as Commissioner Maggio pointed out, we only have one appeal this evening, not two. And the rent stabilization ordinance and rent stabilization regulation items that had originally been scheduled for this evening will now be considered on January 13th. The next meeting will be January 13th, since we won't have a quorum for our December 23rd meeting. On the 13th, in addition to the RSO and regulation amendment item, Coalition for Economic Survival will come and give us a presentation on tenant assistance services. There will also be two appeals on the 27th, the subsequent meeting, another two appeals, and on February 10th, there's one appeal currently scheduled. I had promised the commission that I would give regular updates on the eviction volume that we are seeing in the city. Pleased to report that it's actually quite low. As of today, I'm only aware of 6 new cases being accepted by Betsetic Legal Services for the month of November. And I just want to remind everyone that applications are still being accepted for the California COVID-19 Rental Relief Program. As a reminder, a pending application can stay eviction proceedings through March 31st. And the program, as of December 7th, has already assisted nearly 1,100 households in West Hollywood with disbursements of $16.5 million to those households in total. To apply, please visit www.housingiskey.com. That concludes my report.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Commissioners, do we have any questions for Mr. Holland?
I do have a question unrelated to what he just said. I'm curious if we have scheduled a study session yet for the beginning of the year.
We don't have one on calendar yet. I'll work on that in December and get back to you when we return in January.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Clippies.
I just want to add on to the manager's report, the $16 million he just spoke of that has gone to residents and landlords in West Hollywood. That's $16 million. It's federal dollars that would not have been here otherwise if it were not for the federal government doing this program. So that's $16 million that we have in our community that wouldn't have been there otherwise. So I just think that's a great thing, and that hopefully people will still apply if they need to.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Any other comments or questions, commissioners? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Holland. All right, we are moving on to commissioner comments. Do any commissioners here have broad comments?
Here?
Commissioner Maggio?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I would like for us this evening to adjourn our meeting in honor of Barbara Kupra, who was the liaison from senior advisory to our commission for many, many, many years. A lovely lady, a wonderful activist in our community. I also want to extend my condolences to her family, and I would like for us to adjourn the meeting in her honor this evening.
We will adjourn in her honor. Thank you for that comment to her and her family. It's appreciated, I'm sure.
And if the, Roger, do you need the spelling of her, correct spelling?
Yes, I can get that from you after the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Maggio. Any other commissioner comments? We have none on my screen. All right, do we have the parties present for the appeal this evening?
We have the tenant present, not the landlord. I'll admit the tenant now.
Thank you. And for the record, this is D-4567R as in Roberts. Mr. Natalizio, good to see you. All right, has the tenant been admitted, Mr. Horn? Is that
Yes, we have Mr. Horn is in the meeting.
wonderful? He is present. All right. First, we are going to hear a staff report from legal counsel, and then we will move forward with the appeal.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. It's great to see everybody again after the November break. My name is John Natalizio, and I am the legal counsel to the Rent Stabilization Commission for the city. This appeal tonight was filed by the landlord Crescent Hills Loft LLC in response to a hearing examiner's decision regarding a remand hearing in this case matter. The commission adopted resolution RSC number 21-594, which in relevant part ordered a remand hearing to 1, determine the valuation of the loss of recreational rooftop access, and 2, assess which tenants qualify for receiving that common area rent reduction. The hearing examiner valued the loss of recreational use of the rooftop at $17.50 and awarded the rent reduction to all tenants in this 19-unit building on the basis that landlord did not specify which tenants occupied their units, excuse me, at the time recreational access to the rooftop was removed. Excuse me. Landlord filed its appeal and argues that the remand decision is clearly in error, not reasonably supported by the findings made or the evidence in the record, constitutes an abuse of discretion, and is contrary to relevant provisions of law. The landlord primarily argues 2 things. First, the hearing examiner failed to consider testimony offered by the landlord as to the specific units which qualify, and 2, that the valuation of $17.50 is too high. Staff has reviewed the appeal record and recommends affirming in part and reversing in part the hearing examiner's decision. Regarding valuation, staff believes there is substantial evidence supporting the hearing examiner's determination that the value of the loss of recreational access to the rooftop is $17.50. The guidelines do not provide any guidance for the value of recreational access to a rooftop. Staff believes it is reasonable that given the nature of the housing service, which is recreation, that the hearing examiner analogized it to a pool. The hearing examiner also evaluated the factors identified in the guidelines, which are also found in regulation 60041B. The hearing examiner noted that tenants had access to the rooftop, which based upon the evidence in the record demonstrated there was available seating at some point and an ashtray. However, the hearing examiner also noted that the rooftop itself is largely undeveloped, small, and devoid of furnishings provided by the landlord. Therefore, the hearing examiner determined that a reasonable value would be the median range provided in the guidelines for a pool. While there could be other ways to value recreational access to a rooftop, staff believes that looking at the substantial evidence standard, it is not enough that the hearing examiner could have ruled some other way and substitution of judgment is not permitted. Therefore, staff believes that there is substantial evidence to affirm the valuation of $17.50. Regarding which units qualify for the $17.50 rent reduction, staff believes the record lacks substantial evidence supporting the hearing examiner's determination that all units should receive the $17.50 rent decrease. And staff believes that the hearing examiner erred by not taking testimony regarding the move-in dates of qualifying units. The evidence in the record shows that landlord attempted to submit such information at the hearing, but was not afforded the opportunity. Therefore, staff believes that the $17.50 rent reduction should not go to all 19 units. On this basis, staff believes that the hearing examiner's remand decision should be reversed on this specific issue. Lastly, landlord's appeal requests a remand hearing in order to remedy the issue. As stated in the staff report, staff believes that this matter can be handled without further need of a remand hearing. I'm sure as this commission is aware, this case has a long history, and based upon the remaining issue, staff believes that the commission has the power to remedy the situation tonight. Because the landlord attempted to provide the commission ordered information to the hearing examiner, staff recommended in the staff report that the landlord submit either in writing in advance of the hearing or orally during its presentation to the commission the information necessary regarding those units which qualify for the rent reduction. Landlord complied and submitted a rent roll, which is included in the appeal packet. Staff has included those specific units in the resolution, and as part of the resolution is ordered that only those units receive a rent reduction. Therefore, based upon the above, staff recommends adopting resolution RSC 21-605. You as the commission have the power to affirm, reverse, modify, or remand the appeal decision of the hearing examiner. The commission reviews the hearing examiner's decision under the substantial evidence standard, which requires the commission to make sure that there is substantial evidence that reasonably supports the hearing examiner's decision is credible and of solid value. If that evidence is found, then the decision must be upheld, even if there's also evidence that could support a different outcome. The commission does not substitute its judgment for that of the hearing examiner or reweight the evidence. As it relates to questions of law, the commission applies an independent or de novo standard of review of the hearing examiner's conclusions of law. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, do we have questions? Yes, we'll start with Commissioner Topshian.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Mr. Natalizio. Just a quick one. If the landlord provides the information regarding the number of units, so how do we verify if that information is accurate in terms of the number of units? How do we verify it at the commission during the meeting?
Well, I mean, that's what the rules requires, that the landlord has to submit it. If the landlord is lying as to which units qualify, I mean, that's a completely different problem, and then the city could take action accordingly. But what's being asked for tonight is the same thing that was done at the hearing regarding the issue for the rent lockbox. And that was that the landlord provided that orally to the hearing examiner for which units qualified, and that was accepted. And at least my understanding of what it requires in the notice, that this would be compliant with that as well.
Accepted by the examiner at the hearing?
Correct.
And would the examiner verify that information before reaching the determination?
No, not all. To my knowledge, the hearing examiner did not do any sort of independent research.
We just confirm with the other party whether it's true or not true in terms of number of units or something. So can we hear? Can we hear if, presuming the landlord is going to provide the information, we could ask the tenant if that information is correct. Would that be proper?
I mean, you could, if the tenant knows. I don't know if the tenant would know exactly who qualifies, but if the tenant wanted to look at the rent roll that was provided and give his opinion as to who he had information about, I think that's fine.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Further questions? Commissioner Kirby.
I just want to clarify, the landlord has submitted, and it's in our packet, the apartments that the units would be affected by the, or that should be affected by the rent reduction in the lack or loss of the roof, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
All right, Commissioner Maggio. Mr. Maggio, your speaker is not on. Microphone.
To legal counsel, would it be appropriate at this time to ask why this evidence was initially not allowed in the hearing by the hearing examiner?
I mean, you can ask that. I staff put in the staff report that it's curious as to why this wasn't admitted. This was this remand hearing was for two things. One was access to the lockbox, which is in that issue here. and the second was for access to the roof. And in the resolution that is governing here, it specifically required the hearing examiner to get the move-in dates for all the tenants that would qualify for both the lockbox as well as rooftop access. This information was collected for the lockbox, but inexplicably not for the rooftop access. So as to why it wasn't, I can't tell you why, but in staff's review of the hearing, that's what was found.
Thank you.
Real quick, Mr. Horn, we don't need visual commentary from you. You'll have your time to speak, but this is our time to ask questions of legal counsel, and distracting us on video is not going to do anything, and it's again distracting. So please refrain. Further questions? No questions. Yes, Commissioner Topchian. Speaker.
Yes,
Speaker
thank you. I have one regarding the the factors that the examiner used to determine the amount of the decrease. Some of the factors are listed. This is a complete list of the factors that usually the examiner would look into. I'm not sure if I don't remember if the rent amount is in the is the factor. Do you remember? Do you recall? We can look into that.
Are you talking about the current rent amount?
Current rent amount, yeah, because it's
I
not
don't
listed.
I don't think that in the current how it's currently situated.
Okay.
That's a factor. I think in the proposed guidelines.
In the proposed one, yeah, I remember there was something,
That
but I couldn't remember was it its current one or in the. All right, thank you. Then never mind.
All right. Any other questions? I see none. All right. Thank you, Mr. Natalizio, for your time. And Mr. Secretary, correct me if I'm wrong, but we do not have the landlord present tonight, correct?
That's correct. He communicated that he won't be attending.
All right, Mr. Horn, your time is up now. So typically it will be you would speak, the landlord would speak, and then you would have time for rebuttal. Since he is not here, you will have 5 uninterrupted minutes to present your case to us. Please only discuss evidence that was presented at one of the prior hearings. We don't allow new evidence to be presented this evening, but you're able to present your arguments to us in your 5 uninterrupted minutes. After that is done, if any of the commissioners have questions, we will go into a question and answer session. And after that is finished, we will deliberate and make a decision. All right.
Yes.
All right. All right. Perfect. Mr. Secretary, are you ready for timekeeping?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Horn, you may go ahead. Your 5 minutes starts now.
Thank you. I actually believe my landlord would have started this process because he's the one who raises the appeal, even though he's not here. I didn't raise the appeal.
You're correct.
One of the questions that you keep on bringing up was, why wasn't this evidence allowed? It was allowed. My landlord never bothered to submit it. If you look at page 4 of the remand hearing decision, you'll see he was requested to submit this evidence on at least 3 instances that the examiner mentions, and I will say at least 5 more additional times. My landlord never bothered to submit this evidence. It is evidence, no matter what the decision says. I agree with everything you've said. No evidence is supposed to be submitted after the hearing examiner. You have given my landlord time and time again to submit this. In fact, every delay in this case has been in order to find out dates of move-ins and who was there then, even though city code, the West Hollywood Municipal Code, and the RSO both say he should have submitted a full list of tenants with their move-in dates. The only thing he even submitted that I never received, which is really poor evidence because I didn't have a chance to review it, is dates of people that would apply to. He was supposed to submit a full list of residents and their move-in dates. He has still not. That is evidence he was required to submit by West Hollywood Municipal Code and by RSO. He never did. It's very clear, according to the city's own laws, what should happen then. which should happen if the landlord does not provide an accurate list of all tenant move-in dates. Examiner will order the adjustment for all tenancies. That's what your own laws and rules say. The fact today is day 456 since I filed this claim, when statute says maximum of 115 days, is absurd. Every delay has been to allow my landlord to submit evidence they never did. They still haven't. The rules are clear. And I think it's obvious what your decision should be. The law is clearly stated. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Horn. All right, commissioners, do we have questions for the tenant? Yes, Commissioner Kirkpatrick and Commissioner Topshin.
It was my understanding, I may be getting the cases mixed up, but that there was an appeal filed regarding the amount of the award, the 1750. Is that not correct? Are you, Mr. Horn, are you?
My landlord raised the appeal for this. He didn't show up, but yeah, I didn't appeal the 1750 evaluation. I think it should maybe be higher, but I did not appeal.
You did or did not?
I did not. My landlord did.
Okay.
He's not here to represent his feelings.
Thank you.
Commissioner Topshin.
Yes, Mr. Horn, the owner, the landlord submitted a statement to the commission for tonight's meeting that lists 7 units and 7 names. Are you aware? Do you know? Have you seen that list?
I just saw it less than an hour ago, only by my own volition of looking into it, even though he was legally required to send it to me and never did. Yeah.
So you're, would you agree with this 7?
I don't have the knowledge.
To the best of knowledge of you.
I don't have the knowledge to, and what he was required to submit is a list of all tenants and their move-in dates, and he didn't.
All right, thank you.
Other questions? Vice Chair Copeland, any from you or Commissioner Maggio?
I have no question.
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Horn, thank you for your time. We are going to enter deliberations. So if you could mute your microphone, that would be great.
Gladly. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Commissioners, comments, deliberations. Commissioner Kirkpatrick?
I have a couple of questions for Mr. Nalazio. Sorry if I'm saying that name again wrong. On the tenants that are, the residents that are supposed to be affected, the statement to the commission that the landlord provided, so those names are those units would be affected or would not be affected?
Those would be the individuals who would receive the rent reduction.
Because the way that this is written is, here are the residents and associate apartment numbers who have been residents since 6/30/2019. Do we know when I believe you did mention when the service was removed, but it doesn't say these are the only ones or that these were the ones that would be affected by the removal.
So
hopefully I'm making sense.
Give me 1 second. Let me pull up the document that was submitted. Yeah, so that would make sense, because what we asked was for all the units that were existing at the time of the cutoff, and that's what they provided. So with the cutoff date of 6/30, the landlord said, here are the residents who have been residents since 6/30. So all of these people would be the ones receiving the rent reduction.
And when was the service removed for the roof?
So the record only says mid-2019. There isn't a specific date. So staff's recommendation was to choose 6/30, since that is mid-2019.
Okay. I mean, do you see how that's kind of almost opposite of what we're really looking for, though? While these people may have lost the service that's just an assumption because what we really like to know is when they became residents. So we would know whether they lost the service on 6/30/2019. Because if they moved in on 6/30/19 and the service was gone on 6/30/19, then it's a moot issue for that individual tenant. I'm not saying that none of these, it shouldn't apply to any of these. I'm just saying that we don't have all the information that we need. As Mr. Horn pointed out, the request to the landlord is to provide us a list of tenants and their move-in dates. And I don't know if that landlord did that.
Okay, I mean, if that's fine. If the commission feels they don't have the information, the commission can order a remand on this if they want. They can remand it back to the hearing examiner to get that information. That's totally within the commission's power.
Is it within the commission's power to award it to all tenants based upon the lack of information?
If the commission found that the landlord had not complied with the rules, then the commission would have that power, sure.
Thank you.
Additional comments, commissioners? Anyone? Commissioner Topshin, do you need time to review the record?
Chair, my question was almost what Commissioner Kirkus asked. It's pretty much the same, and response is satisfied. Thank you, Mr. Natalizio. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Commissioners, any other comments, questions, or motions to be made this evening? Yes, Mr. Marshall.
Before we adopt the resolution, would we not want to be a little bit more specific in saying the submission of the list of tenants in regard to who qualifies? Because it just says to remand that decision, but we're not being specific enough. Legal counsel might answer that.
Sorry, Commissioner Marshall, I wasn't following, I guess, what you were saying. What was the issue?
Well, if we want to adopt this resolution, it really speaks specific. It doesn't speak specifically. It says West Hollywood affirming in part and reversing in part. Would we not like to add the reversal, be more specific by why it's being reversed?
Oh, I see. So you're talking about the title of the resolution?
Yes.
Sure. I mean, if the commission wanted to change the title, they could do that. If you take a look at the actual resolution, like the section 4, the language is more specific. But if the commission wanted to change the title, they're free to do that.
Thank you.
Yes, Vice Chair Copeland.
Commissioner Kirby may go first if that's okay. And I'll go after him.
I was going to make a motion, so go ahead and speak. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to know if there was any discussion about valuation, or if everyone feels that part of it is reasonable before we talk about motions. I felt that the list of tenants, the first time I read it, I thought the same exact thing Commissioner Kirby's thought, that, wait a minute, these are the tenants who were in place after June 19th. I think the wording of that is not, there's some specificity maybe, or not the best wording in that. After a second read, I think I understood what he was saying, that these are the tenants who are still there after that date and who would be deprived of that service, but it's not very clear at first reading. I agree with that part of it. Other than that, I'd like to hear what the rest of my fellow commissioners think about the motion.
Commissioner Topshin.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to make a comment about the list. Well, and I appreciate the legal counsel, Mr. Natalizio, explained, because my confusion was with the mid-2019, what does it mean? But since it was determined that that would be the date, June 30th, 2019. So although it's a poorly written statement, but to me it's clear that it actually says that we have been resided since 6/30/2019. I think that's the date that staff wanted to have as a mid-2019, and that's what the owner gave. So again, I have no problem with sending this back to the examiner, but my thing is that in the report, the staff explains the reason why we could make this decision here tonight, because the examiner did not did not hear or did not provide the opportunity for the landlord to submit the information. According to this report, the landlord offered to submit that information, so the examiner somehow ignored it. We don't know why. What's the reason why the examiner sort of concluded that did not need that information? So I think that's the reason why staff is asking us to make that decision tonight. So as I said, I have no problem with sending it back, but maybe commissioners can just explain, or state your position on this. In regards to the valuation, I think again, I know it's in the future in the amended regulations if they will pass, but I don't want to really talk about the rent, but I think based on what the examiner had, the factors for determining the value of the service, I think it's reasonable, and I don't believe this is not an excessive amount, so the landlord cannot really complain about it. That's why it's important to show the rent as kind of compared to the rent and see whether it's excessive or not. So, but we cannot do it here because the rent is not part of the factors, the rent amount. So therefore, I think this amount is reasonable, and obviously the tenant disagrees with that, and the tenant believes that this is a greater service or more substantive service, and the amount should have been higher. I get it, but I think as long as this is not excessive and reasonable, so we should not disturb it. That's my position. I think that $1,750 is a reasonable amount, and that's kind of my position. It's kind of a question that asked by Vice Chair regarding the valuation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We'll do Commissioner Kripes and then back to Vice Chair Copeland.
So I just wanted to clarify again, it was not the tenant making any comment on the dollar valuation given. It was the landlord who has appealed that, believing it was too high. The tenant has not appealed the decision here. It's only the landlord has.
Yeah, that's correct.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying. I missed the part, sorry.
And while I too disagree with the valuation placed on the lost service, because the hearing examiner did provide his reasoning and how he came to the conclusion that he did, and the fact that we are not to replace our judgment with his, I have no problem upholding the $1,750. I would actually, because of the question, I feel strongly about not remanding it back to the hearing examiner. We did that already, and as the tenant mentioned this evening, the number of days this process has been going on. So what I would suggest is that we approve, I would move that we approve the resolution in front of us this evening, but I would like to waive, give the ability to any of the tenants in the 1 through 24, however many units there are that are not listed here, to be able to contact the city if they had this as a loss as well. So they don't have to wait 6 months to apply.
All All right, it sounds like we have the form of a motion from Mr. Kerpes. Vice Chair Copeland has a comment as well.
Yeah, I agree with what Commissioner Kirby said. Yeah, I just briefly, in watching the video, I believe there was a good faith effort on the part of the landlord to provide the list at the hearing. And I know this is something that certainly is not uncommon to present evidence at that time and have it accepted. And he did offer a few times that even though he did not send that specific list in prior to the hearing, he stated that he had sent the same information in several times, thought they had it. So I think there was a good faith effort, and certainly that we can handle this tonight with a motion rather than another remand on this case, and put it to bed finally. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I will agree with Commissioner Kerpes, Vice Chair Copeland, and others that I think there's substantial evidence in the record for the 1750 determination. So I don't think we have any place to upset that based on the law. I do agree with the form of the motion that Commissioner Kerpes stated. And to Mr. Horn, I completely share your frustration that this has taken 400 and X number of days. I don't think that's acceptable. I know that COVID has caused things to slow down, but I think we should really, our city staff and our commission as well, should be striving to get these done as speedily as possible. It's not the best of city government to delay and deny. So I express my apologies from the commission, at least from my perspective. I do think that we have to accept what the landlord submitted, and despite what our RSO, our municipal code requires, there's an overarching due process right that all parties have. And if we are denying them rights to submit things, where in the video it looks like he did attempt to give this information and he was shut down, that is infringing on, or at least coming close to, a due process violation that just doesn't sit well with me. So I think the form of the motion that Commissioner Kerpes stated with the 6-month waiver for the other tenants that are not included in what we do tonight is the appropriate way to go forward. So I don't know if we have other comments or if we want to make a motion this evening or at this time. Commissioner Kerpes, do you want to take a stab at that?
Sure. So I'll move that the commission adopt resolution RSC 21-604, a resolution of the Rent Stabilization Commission of the City of West Hollywood, affirming in part and reversing in part the hearing examiner's remand decision as to case number D4567R, with the amendment that the tenants not listed, the units not listed, are waived the 6-month waiting period to apply for loss of a housing service.
I'll second that.
Uh-oh, did we lose our chair? I think we lost our chair.
Looks like we did.
And we did lose our chair. Well, we have a motion. I will second that motion.
Call the question.
Shall we wait and see if chair is coming back, or shall we proceed?
I think we can ask if there's further discussion on the motion.
Yeah. Any further discussion on the motion? There none. So we have a motion and a second. Mr. Secretary, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Kerpes,
Aye.
Commissioner Raggio,
Aye.
Commissioner Topshin,
Aye.
Vice Chair Copeland,
Aye. And the motion passes.
Mr. Secretary, I think the chair just sent an
Wait.
email saying that he lost service, but he's rejoining now.
Okay.
So just before closing the vote, maybe just
If we can,
wait
if we
just a
can redo
second.
the roll call vote then when he joins us, correct?
there he is. I'm admitting him back in now.
All right.
I apologize for that. I got kicked off the internet. Did we just take a nice 2-minute break and we're still in the same place?
Sort of. We had a motion and a second. And then we need to do the roll call vote again, unless you'd like to hear the motion and the second again.
I know what it is. So yes, I did. So if it stayed as Commissioner Kirby's, then I got it.
Okay.
Thank you, Vice Chair Copeland. All right, so it looks like we need another roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Kirby's,
Aye.
Commissioner Maggio,
Aye.
Commissioner Topshin,
Aye.
Vice Chair Copeland,
Aye.
Chair Marks.
Aye, the motion passes. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience with my computer. All right, so Mr. Horn, thank you for your time tonight. If you do have questions, I know you're very aware of how to contact the Rent Stabilization Commission.
Thank you all for your service to the city.
Thank you, we appreciate it. And thank you for being patient with the city. I know it wasn't perfect, but
I
we
appreciate
it.
that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Horn. All right, we are moving on to new and unfinished business. Mr. Holland, do we have any items on that for us?
No further items this evening.
Great, thank you very much for that. Items from staff.
No further items from staff.
Okay, quick and easy. Thank you very much. Public comment. Has any party joined to give public comment again?
There are no further public comments.
All right, thank you, Mr. Secretary, for that. Commissioner comments. Anything to add this evening? Yes, Mr. Kirpies, and then Mr. Topshin.
Just want to wish everybody a happy holiday season and happy new year. See you next year.
Yeah, just
Thank you for that.
Chair, I also want to wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, and wishing prosperity, health, and safety. I think safety is one of the most important issues these days. We hear a lot of bad stories. So wish everyone a wonderful holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Maggio.
To the Secretary for our meeting in honoring of Barbara K-R-U-P-A.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy holidays to everyone.
And Vice Chair Copeland?
Same thing. Happy holidays to everyone, whatever you celebrate, healthy and happy, and look forward to seeing you all again in the new year, if not before. And appreciate all of you. And it's been wonderful working with all of you this year. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I will echo that to everyone, whatever you celebrate or if you don't at all. I wish you good times, good health. We will see each other in the new year. We are adjourning this meeting tonight in honor of Barbara Krupa. So we will note that again. And Mr. Nellys, do you have anything from you? I just saw your camera pop in.
Oh, sorry. No, I was just going to make sure I waved to everybody. Sorry.
Okay. That's all right. That's all right. All right. Then this meeting is adjourned in honor of Barbara Krupa to the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Rent Stabilization Commission to be held on January 13th, 2022 via teleconference. Thank you all and good night.
Safe travels. Good night.
Thank you much.
Thank you, John and staff and Jonathan and Roger, everyone.
Appreciate it.
all of you. Good
Happy
night.
holidays.
Good night.